Alright, so my capstone is on engineering, obviously. And that is a very broad topic, but in this I try to more focus on the aspect of helping people through engineering. I hope to possibly create things that are useful or beneficial to people in some small way, maybe in the future. Obviously, it's not a reasonable goal to be specifically known as the inventor of something, but I want to feel like I've made an impact on the world, even if it's some small thing, because I think that's what we're meant to do as people, is make the future better for the people after us. Best way I can think of to do this, for me personally, is to work with my hands and do things through engineering. I've always loved working with my hands, which is part of where my original passion for this topic came from. Another part comes from when I was a kid. I found out from a young age that I had dyslexia, and this actually made things related to reading and writing very difficult for me. So that's when I started to lean more into math. In elementary school, I remember that most of my math classes I would get into a bit of trouble because a lot of the time I would not show my work on papers and did a lot of mental math. And at the time, I didn't understand that most kids weren't doing mental math in elementary school as much as I would often do it. Most of my teachers would insist that all students show their work on their papers, and in public schools it wasn't too accepted to question your teacher, and often I would ask the question of why I had to do that. And this is what showed me basically from a young age that I was generally gifted in math, and I really liked the subject. Another thing that I found from a young age that wasn't as much through school was that I learned a lot better through experiences. Knowing both that I was gifted in math and worked better with my hands, along with the fact that experiences helped me learn the most, really helped me to decide what to do for my topic for capstone. This was really easy to find, like, why I loved this topic, but we were required to answer the question of what made it so good, in the scriptural sense of the word, I guess. And this was hard for me because I didn't really know how to relate engineering to the Bible as much. So the way I started to figure this out was in my interview with Dr. Probst. I had a few questions lined up, but I really only got to the first two of them, and then it kind of went off. The first one being just like, I asked basically how he got into the engineering field and like what originally gained his interest in this topic that I too had a lot of interest in. He basically said that the act of problem solving and working with your hands is what he thought made engineering good. I really connected with him here because that was the same reason that I really liked engineering. I pretty much asked him the next question of what he thought was good about engineering again, and he responded with some good answers that I hadn't really thought about before. He shared that he thought Christians were called to build and progress upon the world, and explained to me that in the Bible we are told to work to represent God. And he pointed me to Ephesians 2:10, which reads, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." I interpreted this as God wants us to create things because that's what he had planned for us to do. This was the biggest thing that I really got from my interview with Dr. Probst, but he also went off on other topics, and he kind of got into abstracts after, where we talked about more how faith related to engineering. And in this, he started to go off, I would say, on a tangent. He talked about how there's not a ton of Christians in math and science related jobs compared to other fields. And I kind of played devil's advocate here, and I asked him for that reason if pursuing math and science was actually what we're meant to do as Christians. So there was no simple answer to this, and Dr. Probst brought it to a weird place, and he related it kind of to politics. He started with the idea of climate change and how that related to the topic of Christians in math and science fields, by first saying that most people would assume most conservative Christians refuse the idea of climate change and just believe it's not a thing. Dr. Probst said that this is actually quite the opposite, and most Christians would be completely for cleaning up the environment in every possible way. It's just that he believes we're focusing too much on the carbon dioxide buildup, and that is misguided. Dr. Probst said that it's similar to Christians working in math and science. On an outside view, many people would think that it's not within the Christian mindset to invent and solve problems through science and math. However, he said that's actually a non-Christian way of thinking. He said that this is, again, the opposite, because it's absolutely the Christian mindset to build and improve upon things to make the world a better place. Most of that was kind of rough with Dr. Probst's interview, but it was very helpful in helping me answer the question of what made my capstone topic good. The next thing that I did was an experience, and with that I got an idea from Mr. Spector, and he pointed me towards 3D printing and modeling. And this is a really good way to do like prototyping and stuff like that for a few reasons, because it's fairly quick and simple to use. For this, I started with an idea that he gave me, which was like a stand or whatever to hold an iPad for teachers. I did abandon this very quickly because I had no clue what I was doing. And basically all I got was this little thing which is meant to hold it. It's a very janky thing, but you can pass it around if you want. Doesn't make much sense, it's just an example of what you can do on here. After showing that, I am going to pull up, you can look on the screen over there, I'm going to pull up there. So this is Tinkercad. It's extremely user-friendly software that's for 3D modeling, and it's a mess. I'm very indecisive. But basically what I wanted to do was something more like this. And that didn't exactly work out just because that was a bit complicated to work with. So instead, Spectre told me to do something more like this. That would be simpler to mass produce. Basically, what you can do once you have this is you can export things, and you select one of those. I already have one up in the other program. So once you have that exported, you take it to your desktop or files or whatever, and you can pull it up in here. You do that by opening a file, and it'll be somewhere in here. We already have something on here. And this is what I actually want to do with it, but I didn't get to do that. And basically, once you have that, you can go over to monitor, and you take that, and there's some specific temperatures you have to do for the bed and the tip to print things. And once you do that, you basically just hit start print, and it takes a long time, so we don't have time to do that. But if you look back over here, we can connect this, and we can also manually move it around. We can manually move it around by hitting some of these arrows. There we go. We can set it to home and stuff like that. There we go. Yeah. So that's the basics of that. It'll just do something. And once you have that, there we go. Okay. That will probably go for a little bit while we're talking, or not. Probably not. Okay. So yeah, that's very simply put. That's 3D modeling and printing. The second experience I did, which was not related to 3D printing and modeling at all, was metal milling, and that's actually in the other room, and I will show you guys that in a bit. But got to wrap up here first. So basically, through 3D modeling, metal milling, stuff like that, those are like the simplest forms of creating things that you can do. And I related that back to our main big topic, which was engineering. And so through designing and creating some of the things that I talked about, like this, I hope to build the world in some small way, build some things in the world and affect it in some small way. And I hope it's now easier to understand those small things to help you in your first steps to engineering for the future. Enjoy. So, that was a mess, don't worry about that. Okay, we're gonna go to the other room, and in the other room there's a big old metal milling machine. I don't know if we can fit everyone in there, but we can try. So, what you do with this is you're gonna...
You want to turn it on first?
After I put it in, yes. You're gonna put your piece in here and... Ooh. Okay. So, okay, we have that. Now, it is in there here. We're gonna have to lower it so that this is not touching at all. We obviously don't want it to touch. Okay, so yeah, that all set up. I forgot. I will be right back here this way. Sorry.
Yeah, usually.
Well, it's gonna send off links.
Okay.
Wait, what's the lowest
Okay.
Are we far enough back, Andrew?
Yeah. Okay.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. Okay. Once you have that all set up, you can move forward. Actually, not as loud as I originally thought it would be when I started this. You basically want to bring this up until it's barely touching the piece over here. So we'll do that. Just until you like hear it and see it, it's barely touching. There you go. So that's that. And we're gonna go forward and then that. And then there's little measurements on here. It's a very accurate machine. So these little ticks are 1/1000th of an inch measurements. And you take this and you can see a little gap there. You guys can't see it actually. You can move it up just barely. We need it to go no more than 0.015 inches because that'll mess up the machine if you do more than that. And you can go through and get a very surface level cut. And then we'll do a bigger one. Okay. So, once you have that, you can go maybe like 0.02. You can go back through. And we're just going to go until this is flat-ish. Very normal sound. Got it. Alright, so once you have this, you have flat edges on both sides, but there's still rough edges, I guess, over here. So you're just going to take a file to it. Typically you want to do it by hand instead of putting it in a clamp because that will make it, I don't know, it'll make it hard. Yeah, so face test, sorry, I didn't explain that. So if you want to pass it around that way, it should be kind of smooth. Not really. I just cut that right before this because I lost the piece of metal that I wanted to do it with. So that's a brand new piece of metal. But yeah, that's metal milling. In very simple terms.
Yeah.
You can put different tips in here. This one is for cutting straight across. Over in that machine, there's a different tip that's used for cutting angles. And yeah, that's about it. So, Bye.